Aloha, all. Good morning. This is podcast 66. I'm calling this The Great Divide. I actually thought I recorded this in March, and then I went and got a pedicure. I looked at my notes to write another podcast and realized I was taken in a different direction and never finished this. So, okay. How are all of you? I'm so grateful for my loyal fans and your patience with my random recordings. So, my topics come up as I'm counseling clients or working with students, and I'm seeing common patterns of struggles. So, how I see it when I am doing a session with someone is I hear them and I place the pieces together and I kind of see where their conflict or their struggles or their suffering is coming from. And so, if we visualize this great divide, how I frame that is basically where we have a life of where our mind is saying, this is all the things I should be doing, should be saying, should be eating, versus this is all the things I want or need to be doing, need to be saying, need to be eating. And however far apart that divide is, however separate you are from your instinct and trusting yourself within, getting your needs met versus your mind giving you this tape of judgment and criticism about all the things that you are screwing up on and not accomplishing. And then therefore that inner critic is preventing you from this joy. So that great divide could be quite a vast space. So some of the symptoms when we do have a space between our needs and our wants versus what we should be doing is there are symptoms of depression, of anger, of anxiety, of frustration, where you feel hopeless and you just basically procrastination becomes one of the issues. I want to go further into that in a further podcast on symptoms of procrastination, but these are symptomatic about it's like I'm screwed if I do or I don't, right? So you're just constantly on edge and not feeling supported. So I have a couple of exercises I like to offer. So this one is, so get a piece of paper out, or if you have a journal, and write down all of your tasks and responsibilities for the next week. So an example of that would be work or cleaning or caring for someone, if you exercise or have some workout program, having to check in with a friend or a loved one or family member, if you have schoolwork or taking your dog for a walk, any of those things, but write the whole list just for the next week. And when you complete that list, I want you to do some reflection on each one of those independently and ask, do I want to do this or should I do this? And next to it, write a W for want or an S for should. Now, the bigger question in these two instances are, is this fulfilling a purpose? So first we're going to discern how resistant you are to do this, meaning if we're doing something we should do, but it's not in an alignment of what we want or need to do, then the conflict begins. So I want you to learn how to bring those values more to your core so that it inspires an energy that makes it easier to do. So do these help fulfill a purpose for you either currently or towards a future? So often when some of my counseling skills are career coaching, and I firmly believe, for instance, where I talk to clients about work or not being satisfied in their work, that my opinion is you have a job for 3 reasons, and only these 3 reasons. The first is the money is exceptional. The second reason you would stay in a job or have a job is you're learning a valuable skill. And the third is there's a chance to promote from within. So, talking about the first one with money, we all need money to provide for ourselves and our family and etc. Yet if a career only offers you money without purpose or growth, I guarantee after a while you are going to run out of this energy, of your natural energy within, regardless of your age. And the only way to continue tasks that we should do because the money is off the charts is that we have to find a way to numb our true self. And we're going to numb ourselves with drinking too much caffeine, too much alcohol, drugs, unhealthy patterns, and the show begins. How many people do you know, or how many times have you been in a position where you know you're not living a healthy lifestyle, and you're basically creating this armor of protection around your authentic self, and in a sense it's blocking out your inner voice or your conscience. And these are ways of these patterns or substances. They start to create this distraction, yet inside we're getting more anxious, we're getting more exhausted. Perhaps we have an accident and hurt ourselves, which we feel is just literally an accident. I believe it's our higher self saying stop. And we need to check in to see, do we have a purpose? Humans are purpose motivated. So in asking in each of your tasks, who or what are you helping? So are you helping a person specifically, a group in society, the planet, technology? Are you advancing medicine in some way or form? What are we doing? So even overworked and tired at times, if you feel this life purpose, that fuels you. That fuels your energy. And surprisingly, even to us, there's less of a supply. Even when we feel we don't have that much energy, if you're doing something purpose motivated, it may surprise you how you can keep going. Now, I have always said I'm fueled by inspiration, and my inspiration comes from feeling purposeful. This purposefulness is my favorite. That's my intention on a daily basis, is to have this sense of purposefulness. So even when I have long days where I'm counseling all day long, or I'm teaching, or something's happening, as soon as the person or the people are in front of me, whatever I'm supposed to be doing, even if I feel exhausted, and my instant thought is, have a shot of espresso, and this will wake you up. And I've learned to wait a moment before doing that, because that's a instinctual thing about, okay, I need caffeine, I need something to wake me up. And I've learned to take a couple beats and to just start the counseling session or start the workshop or the teaching or whatever I'm doing. And I notice that I'm so focused on the person in front of me, and the inspiration comes and all the messages come, that I'm high. It's a natural high. I didn't even need that espresso. So, reminding you, we all have unique skills, and we express them in different ways. And these are our nuggets of gold. Now, sometimes the challenge is, where do we fit, and what resources do we actually have to offer? Like, some people have no sense of what their gifts are, and maybe their inner critic is louder, and their divide is greater, and it's such an abyss because they're doing everything they should, as opposed to things they want and that fulfill their needs. I hope that exercise helps you in deciphering what you're doing, what is a should and what is a want. So another exercise I've given in business coaching to help find a career path if you're not certain is that I want you to write down all the hobbies you've ever done or any activity you've done that really lights you up, that helps you to feel just excited and energy for it. And if you've had jobs in the past, even if they seemed significant or short, you didn't have them for a long time, but there was something you just loved about that job. I loved working as a team. I loved collaborating. I loved how much freedom they gave me for creativity. I loved that I was able to really research this, where I got to use my brain and come up with new techniques. Whatever that is, write that job down too. So in addition to this list, if there are any significant happy moments that you remember that has made a mark on you, that made it, this was a good day, I want you to write that down on that list. And then next to each of those points, I want you to write comments on the sides, such as I did this activity and it gave me I was so happy, like I was flying high through the whole project. I couldn't wait to go into work. I couldn't wait to work on this. And really decipher what made you so excited about that particular project or that particular task you did or that particular hobby or activity. What made you so excited about it? And really distill that so that you can see what your gifts are. So things that appear to be random or miscellaneous become a speck of a bigger picture that someday it will all make sense as to why we went through that, why we experienced that, and how it now benefits and supports us on this moment of our journey towards discovering more of our life purpose and making more money. So when I've talked to people that they're doing a job that they are not happy with, that maybe it does make good money, but they're bored or it's just not motivating them, or they're like, there's conflict at work or some reason that they have this aversion to even showing up anymore. So I want to give you a couple of spiritual tips here about kind of how the universe works, or how some of these techniques work sometimes. So in breaking down how much of this is your shoulds versus how much is your wants, what we're trying to do is we're trying to change our view. So if we are coming from our mental familiar mind, which is this little box of this is what I have to do at work, I have to be there 9 to 5, these are the people I interact with, it's the same thing every day, and it's just not feeding me any longer. There's no soul food in it. And then we can't always have the luxury to just say, I want to quit and do something else, because we have to pay for our bills and we have responsibility to our employers and to our coworkers and to whatever we're doing. So I want you to try to see how much are you coming from your mind and your limitation of what's familiar to you in your job, the same old thing, versus when you started, or at any point, was there anything that lit you up? Or before you started the job, Was there a possibility of something that excited you that was offered in the job? And see if it is within your power that you can try to lean into that. So you can, if it was about, I'm more creative, or I have free reign to produce something, talk to talk to your employers, talk to your managers, and see, can I do this little experiment? Even if you do it on work time, or if they have no interest in that because they have you filled up, see if you could do it at home. Because if it's something you're doing on your own time that really excites you, and then you bring it in and offer it as, look, I wonder what you feel about this. This is something I did on my own time. And see how they respond. Like, they may think, okay, this person is self-motivated and they actually are doing something that makes them excited, that gives them purpose, that meets their needs. So if I was your employer, I would see this about you, and if it fit into the scheme of things, I'd say, okay, let's try it, or this is the part we could try, or this is when we could financially afford to do that. If you bring that in and I'm totally shut down to it, then you're getting information. First off, you discovered that when you do things you want and you need that support your purpose, your divide shrinks and you're more in alignment with what you want. So if you need to see the job you're currently working at is not going to support what lights you up, then you actively start to look for something else to do that is in alignment to whatever that second exercise we just did, that checklist. I want it to have creativity. I don't want to be seated at a desk all day. I want to encounter many different people. I want to have a team to work with. Whatever's going on, I want time to focus and study without distractions so that I could really deepen something. So it's about really learning you, discovering you. Know thyself and know the whole world. The more you know about you, it's easier for you to find this purpose. And therefore, when you have the purpose, your divide shrinks. So, where are we? Let's go back into these shoulds. So there are shoulds in life. For instance, those of you that need to care for a parent or a family member, or when you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're just like, I can't do any more of this. It's bringing up my anger. It's bringing up my frustration. And yes, I'm responsible for my children, for my mother, for my father, for whoever, my auntie. And at that point, what are your choices? Like, to really sit there and see, I am not enjoying the behavior that I'm exhibiting. I'm not the best version of myself. So that's your body, your system saying you need help. You're overwhelmed. So at that point, you either ask for support from another family member or a friend or someone to say, are you open to doing this, or sharing this, or taking the kids for a night, or bringing mom some food, or find if there's services where a nurse or caregiver or babysitter can come in and help. And you could call the state and ask for, is there assistance available in whatever you're looking for? There's also food and medication delivery services. Like, try to think outside of the box about how can you give yourself a little more personal time instead of this constant tasking and doing things that feel like a burden and overwhelming. And therefore, so you could focus on what do I want right now? What are my needs? What are some things that can make me high right now, that personal high? So again, creativity. So creativity and connections are very important in life. I feel when we place another before ourselves, before our own selfishness, and I'm not talking about meeting your needs and your wants as being selfish. There's a difference where if I could only see myself, if I only see what I want instead of seeing others, I'm not saying to stop caring for your kids or whoever you're responsible for, but I'm saying to look to see, wait a minute, I'm not showing up in the best way. So something needs to change here. And usually that something is you. You need to change your view. So if we're looking from that little box of the mind, I want you to go up a little higher and start looking from your awareness, like really seeing the whole picture and seeing what are my choices here. When we ask ourselves, what are my choices here to improve this situation, to change this situation so it's more in alignment with my values and it's less of a divide and I'm more whole, then there's more joy. So we want to lessen the divide within ourselves to create this wholeness and unity. Makes a difference. So for instance, let's say you feel obligated to like call your parent or a family member, an auntie, a grandmother, like I got to call a few times a week, all the time, or they get so disappointed. But like your life is, you're tired and you're finding like it's just this like drain. I don't really know what to say. So I want you to allow yourself to check in, if you're calling 3 times a day or daily, to say, okay, I'm going to call today because I have a little extra energy on my way home from work, and I'm going to check in and see how mom's doing or how grandma's doing. And when I call, I'm going to see in that moment, because it was my choice, I brought it back to choice, which was my want, that the whole quality of the conversation becomes deeper and more wonderful. And I guarantee, even if they're used to you calling daily or a few times a week, and you scale that down, if the quality, if your presence is more when you're seeing them or talking to them, because it's your choice and you're showing up more fully, they will love that. They will feel that difference and say, I just love my time, instead of they call so impatient or they're distracted or they're on their phone while they're talking to me. I can tell that. And they feel like they're not important. So you're doing a circumstance of shoulds and they're feeling the result of responsibility, of I'm just an obligation. So let's stop that cycle. Get into a place where your response changes. The circumstance can't always change, but your response to it can change. You can show up and be more authentic if it becomes your choice and your want. So let's address some self-care, which is my specialty. This is my wheelhouse. So establishing a daily consistent routine gives us the motivation to get up excited every day. It's like having the greatest love affair with someone that sees you, that acknowledges you, that hears you. There is time for your needs and wants to be met. Yet instead of putting that great responsibility on a partner or a family member or friend, do it for yourself. Own your authority by being responsible for your own joy, by making a conscious choice and effort to regularly check in with yourself and ask, what would make me happy today? How about you get up? I've often talked about doing your 2 feeling words. How am I feeling in this moment? Getting your 2 feeling words, and now taking a step further. If I were to have anything I wanted today, and I don't want this to be in relation to money, I want this to be in relation to what is within your scope. What would make me happy today? And for those of you that are struggling and not certain what lights you up or what would bring you joy or happiness, then I've often offered that if you think about a time when you were younger or when you were little and things that excited you and made you happy. So start keeping track of a list. And anytime an idea comes in, that it was some memory of something you did when you were younger. Even if it was walking your dog every morning, you used to do this consistently every morning. And if you used to do an hour walk or so around the lake or somewhere in your park, and now because of your workload or your time constraint or kids or obligations, you only have a 15-minute walk or a 10-minute walk. It's not time, it's intention. I've said that in many podcasts before. So let it be enough instead of poor me. I don't have time for long walks, for long workouts. I don't have time for long meditations, for time for myself. But know that if you claim it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and you know that that's all I'm doing singularly, I'm 100% present and showing up. This is what I need and what I want. My divide shrinks, and I'm in alignment. It's no longer a should. I'm still doing my other obligations, but the more I'm feeding my needs on a regular basis, I'm feeding my needs on a regular basis, the happier I am to do any responsibilities in my life. So, for me, I've shared many times before, I am a classic introvert. So my happy and safe space is basically satisfied by quiet time. So having time to meditate, sitting with my dogs, listening to the birds, sitting outside. I love my backyard. Not having noise or TVs on or endless conversations from the time I wake up. I actually love that I have a lifestyle that I wake up and there's no one here but the dogs. Either my roommates are gone already or they sleep in. So I get my morning like from the time I wake up, which is from around 7 to 10 or 11 or till I start clients, that's my personal time. I'm very blessed for that. It took years and years of that because there was a time for 20 some years that I'd wake up and wonder, what day is it? What am I late for? And I was going from the second I woke up. And I did that, and I learned from it that I needed more pacing, less shoulds, more needs. So being able to journal or have self-reflection time on the experiences of that day or the previous day, or what is before me, where oftentimes in my meditation, if I have clients or teaching that day, that person comes to mind and I kind of can see from a quiet, still place like a dialogue or something that is potent to bring up in that, and then I just make a little note of that. So I have found so when I'm doing my reflection, this is another tip here. So when you're doing time and looking at your day, like I'm looking at how was yesterday or what is today involved or what does tomorrow involve, when I have shared that with some clients, sometimes clients struggle with anxiety and serious anxiety. And often the anxiety is happening because they are too far in the future or too far in the past. They are so separate. That divide is so separate from within this present moment of what they need, what they are in control of, where their power is, that the anxiety comes up because it's impossible to be able to control or anticipate anything in the future, or to live in the past and have this yearning or this wishing that it was still that way. You are missing this moment. So if your anxiety is chronic, I want you to notice, how far are you looking into your future or your past? And try to keep it to just right here reflect on yesterday, reflect on what is up for me today, what do I need today, how do I want to show up today, and notice that this divide can shrink. So we do not want the mind to have its power, that everything that it's familiar with, everything we should do and that we have always done, because that is a stagnant life. That is a limited belief life. I want you to go beyond that into your awareness and look to see, where are my choices in this divide? Where are my choices in my obligations? So that my obligations turn into my chosen responsibilities. Do you see that? And when it's a chosen responsibility, regardless if it's caretaking or cleaning or something that has felt like a burden, and you have the courage to break your view of that and to say, I choose this responsibility. I am blessed that I have the skills and the tools to show up for this person or these people. And I am learning that life isn't thrown at me with all this heaviness. Life shows up with so many responsibilities, because I can move into the place, but I could only move into what is in front of me, one moment at a time. And I'm going to continue to make me part of the equation. I'm going to continue to check in to say, what does Samana need today? How am I feeling? Do I have the energy for this? And I want that divide to be next to each other. I want me to be whole and aligned, and no space between what I have to do and want to do versus what I should do. There's no shoulds. I'm going to make them all choice. So I want you to have the courage to check in each moment and respond to your best self, with you as a factor, your needs as a factor in each equation, as well as others being a factor. So I am available for counseling. I do it via Zoom or FaceTime or Messenger. My rates are $100 for one session. Most people will do either the 2 for $150, and that never expires, or if you're going to do regular sessions, which I recommend weekly or bi-weekly, every other week, it's 4 sessions for $270. Get the support you need and deserve. Check in and see, what is your divide? How far is that? Meaning your needs and who you are and how you're showing up versus all the responsibilities in your life. How do you turn that to choice? How do you offer your tools and your self-authority and your personal empowerment in your best way, where every interaction you're proud of and you love? Life is short, so why not be happy? Thank you for listening. You could contact me via text 808-283-7587. I'm in Texas Central Time, US. And my email is Samana, SAMANA, @SPALUNA.com. Thank you and blessings.